So what is lifestyle design? Lifestyle design is designing a life that works for you. And I'm going to cover two different frameworks here, right? I'm going to cover two different frameworks, right? And, you know, sorry, okay. First of all, why do we need lifestyle design, right? So lifestyle design is like basically designing your daily and weekly structure. And we have a morning routine. Okay, you've got your morning routines, you've got your evening routines. What happens in the middle, or what brings this all together? So the thing that brings us all together is the lifestyle design. And the first framework, so actually before the first framework, we are going to run through this. So it's removing any wasted time. Get your pen, get your piece of paper, because here's an action step for you. So what we want to do first of all, before we start designing our life, is look at kind of things that we can remove that's going to free up even more time. So things like mindless scrolling, constant checking emails and messages, having meetings that don't really have a clear objective or purpose, just for the sake of it, and then also just like saying yes to everything, or when somebody asks you to do something, your automatic response is yes. And then other things like maybe overcomplicating simple tasks. And so what I want you to do is spend a couple minutes and just write down three of the biggest time wasters, three of the biggest time wasters that you do throughout the week. Again, that could be scrolling. It could be just like checking, going backwards and forwards to emails, and again scrolling, going from one platform to another, things like that. So, and yes, you are going to check your notifications and emails, but you can set time aside in the day to do that, just to add to that. So pause this video and then write down those three time wasters. The other thing I want you to do before you pause the video is you want to choose what you can reduce, what you can maybe batch into like a little work block, so emails or checking social medias. You can go right at, and certain points throughout the day, this is when I check emails, or on a morning or lunch break, this is when I go on my social media, and then maybe on an evening, rather than just going on it throughout the day. The other thing within work, okay, what are the things that you could delegate? What are the things that you don't actually need to do, which you can give to somebody else to do? Delegate some of that. So that's going to help you free up any wasted time. And then the next part of lifestyle design, this is before we get into the frameworks. Again, with the morning routine, the evening routine is very important, actually. Specifically, what I would see a Sunday night, which I posted something about last night. Like a Sunday is like the start of the week, but a Sunday night, getting to bed at a reasonable time on a Sunday night is going to have an effect to your week. You go to bed late on a Sunday night, that has a knock-on effect to the Monday morning, and that has a knock-on effect to the rest of the week. Your evening routines matter just as much as your morning routines. What you want to be thinking about doing is having a cut-off time from screens and phones, because I mean, most of us know that when you're looking at your phone, when you're looking at screens and things, it's artificial light, and you're basically telling your body, your brain, that the sun is still up. Now, what happens when the sun goes down is melatonin increases, which puts you into, which state is it again? But basically helps you wind down at the end of the day and helps you prepare to go to sleep. Now, if you're constantly looking at phones and constantly looking at bright lights, tellies, and this, that, and the other, that can have an effect on you being able to get to sleep. The other thing is like if you're constantly working and then you're working up until late and then you just go to sleep, like you're not having any time to wind down, to switch off. You'll go to bed and you might just be thinking about this, and this. Whereas if you put a kind of your routine in place where, okay, an hour or two before bed, I don't go on my phone, no like work, I give myself some time to wind down. You might do a little bit of mobility. You might, You might even go for a sauna or a steam room, which I like to do. You might do some breath work or meditation. This is completely down to you. What I would say is have that evening routine is like at least an hour or so. And I want you to just make a note and just write that actually in your calendar. I want you to go into your calendar right now and just put that block of time in that takes you from when you start winding down to when you go to bed. You're going to put that in there, and in the notes, you're going to put in the things that you're going to do or not do. So if you just take a moment to do that. Okay. What I would say here, right? So we're going to move into locking in the weekly lifestyle design review. So I want you to, and at first, this might take 20, 30 minutes to do, but as time goes on, it's not going to take much time at all, if any. And it's just a weekly review of your calendar. So first of all, what you're going to do is, preferably a Sunday or a Saturday, put in this 30-minute block where that specific time is for going over your life, going over your calendar, and understanding what worked, what didn't work, what needs to change. And an easy way to do this is if you set out all these different, which we'll get to shortly, but if you're setting out with like non-negotiables in your calendar, or like blocks in your calendar, you make them make those entries repeat. And then what you would do each week, instead of having to create your calendar over and over again, you edit that series of calendar entries, change the time, and that'll change it for the future weeks. But yeah, you want to be locking in that time so that you do have that time put aside to review your week, to refine your week, to improve it. And again, what you want to be asking yourself, if X changes, what happens to Y? If training volume increases, does your recovery increase? If your work intensity increases, then do you need to structure it in a different way? Do you need to increase recovery? Or, do you need to, if your workload increases, do you need to put like little 10, 15-minute blocks in between those work blocks so that you get that little reset? For instance, okay, if family demands increase, then what are the things in your business you can do to kind of delegate? Or maybe you're training 4 or 5 days a week. Okay, things are getting busy. Well, maybe I'll change to 3 days a week, or like 2 days a week in the gym, or one home workout. So that's what I encourage you to do in your weekly lifestyle design review. Take a moment, press pause, pop that into your calendar. Okay, so this one depends on which type of category you fall into. So if you are somebody who follows a 9 to 5 schedule, so if you work 9 to 5, or you've got a business that you run and you follow a very structured schedule, it might not be a 9 to 5, it might be 8 and 4 or 8-6, whatever that is. The idea here, right, is you lock in your non-negotiables, and it's called the all or nothing method. And where this comes from is I was in the all or nothing mindset where I have to be all in. I have to be all in at everything, or it just goes out the window. And what happened is I was constantly doing this, going all in on everything, busy from the moment that I woke till the minute that I went to sleep. And as a result, I burnt out time and time and time again. Wake up 5 o'clock, do my bit morning routine, my yoga. I would go to work all day. I'd work on my lunch break. I'd finish work. I'd go to the gym. I'd have my food. Then I'd sit down on the laptop for a few hours before I know it's time to go to bed. Now, at first, you feel like you're smashing it because you feel like you're getting a lot done. But in reality, you're not really being that productive. So if you've been working all day, you've went to the gym, and then you've had your food, do you really think that if you sit on the laptop for 3 hours on the night, that you are going to be that productive? You'll get stuff done, but you won't be that productive. And again, with your training sessions, if you know that you've got to have your food and your work on the night, do you think you're going to have a productive training session? Do you think you're going to hit it as hard as you think you could? No, because your mind's going to be thinking, I've got to get home, I've got to have my food, then I've got to do this work, and da, 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 da. And you're just in that all or nothing mindset where if you aren't doing all of these things every day, then what's the point? Because then you end up, when you start to skip one thing, it'll have a knock-on effect to the other. What I used to do is I used to escape and use substances, and then that would have a negative effect on everything. And as a result, my business just ground to a halt. And so we call this the all and nothing. So for a 9 to 5 person, your free time is usually on an evening and on a weekend. And what you're going to do is alternate when you are all in on one thing and you are doing nothing on the other. So I'll give you, for instance, instead of training 5, 6 days a week, reduce that to 3 training sessions a week. So Monday night, you work out. You don't go on the laptop. Tuesday night, you don't work out, but you go on the laptop and you get a lot more productive, like a lot more work done. So that time spent on the laptop, because you haven't been frying your brain from doing it every single day. When you go on the laptop, your brain is just firing and you can be a lot more productive because you haven't wore your body out that evening. So you're giving your body a rest and you train. So I like to think of it as like training the body one day, training the mind the other day. And then the next one I would get to is like, having some family time or some social time or some recovery time, like actually going for a sauna, steam room, having some downtime for yourself. And that's kind of like training the soul. So you like train the body, the mind, and the soul. And when you kind of, it might take a little bit of experimenting with your routine, but if you can get that down to a T, like you're winning in all areas of life. Like, again, I did this, won these medals and trophies here, right, by following this routine. I was working a 9 to 5 job. I was building my business. I was competing as an athlete. I was training insane, but I was only training 3 days a week, just harder, more intense sessions. I still made time for friends and family. And as a result, no burnout, zero burnout. So that is the idea, is locking your non-negotiables that you need to be able to do. So your 9 to 5 is locked out. Then you need to be assigning your training, business, family, and recovery time to those blocks of free time. So again, on the evenings and on the weekends, and structure it in a way that allows you to kind of hit the reset button and allows you not to be doing everything every day. So it's going from all or nothing to all and nothing. When you're all in on one thing, you're nothing on the others, rather than trying to do everything every day. I hope that makes sense. I really hope that makes sense. I've got this in a PDF if you need it. I'll give you the full breakdown. You can also comment on this video. And so moving on to the next one, right? And this is for your full-time entrepreneurs. This is for your full-time kind of, I would say, entrepreneurs who manage their own time. So where they can be flexible, you're managing your own calendar. You're not in this rigid 9 to 5 schedule. You can break your day up. And so this one's called the 3s, 2s, 1s method. And so we do things slightly different here. So, for most established entrepreneurs, business is probably doing really well, right? And where you may be not doing so well is your health and your fitness, and maybe even spending time with family, or even giving yourself some time back yourself so that you can regulate and, de-stress and all those things. So the idea here is the 3s, 2s, 1s, right? Those are work blocks. Let's put them aside for a second. Let's lock in our non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? Well, my non-negotiables is 1, my training. So I'm going to lock in my training sessions for the week. Then I'm going to be locking in my eating times, non-negotiable. Must eat, and I must eat good, healthy, nutritious foods. Third one is recovery. Recovery, because again, let's go back to the pillars. Recovery is like the reset, and it allows us to continue performing. Allows us to continue performing at a high level. So recovery, so important, and that's, that can be your mobility, your stretching, your sauna, your steaming, your ice baths, whatever that looks like to you, going on a walk, whatever that is, locking in those recovery sessions. So once you've got your non-negotiable, massively important, and I can't believe I'm forgetting this, or nearly forgot, is locking in your family time. So for me, that means spending my Friday evenings. I spend my Friday evening with my mother, my niece, and my nephew. That is locked in. That is a non-negotiable. I don't change that. That is locked in. So for you, this is going to look different for everybody. But what I would do is just go, right, what are the non-negotiables? What should be a non-negotiable? Get it locked in, put it in the calendar. Don't get me wrong, for the first couple of weeks, you might need to change a little bit, but get that locked in, right? Once you've got your non-negotiables locked in, then we're going to start locking in our working hours. So for me, it's like 3-hour blocks on a morning, Like it's one of the first things I do after my morning routine. I've got a 3 hour block locked in, and this is like for deep, intense work blocks. Then you've got like 2 hour blocks for like, you might take some calls. You might, yeah, you probably have your meetings and your catch ups and your um that sort of stuff, going through your projects, whatever that means for you. And then your ones. So these are like kind of micro blocks that I can do. These are like kind of micro blocks that I can do. It's anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. And I like to do them maybe when I'm on the go. And I could be resting in between sets at the gym, and I'm on a sauna and I'm just ticking off tasks or handing things over to my business partner, or I could be writing a little piece of content. Whatever that is, it's like getting little micro blocks, and it doesn't seem like much, but it compounds over time. Even like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Sometimes when I've been for a sauna or a steam room, and I'm cooling off by the pool, I'll open my phone, and instead of just like scrolling away, I'll maybe write a piece of content, or I'll update some tasks in a sauna, that sort of thing. So it's kind of getting those like threes, twos, and ones in, and you'd kind of build those in around your non-negotiables. And you might go, actually, it might make sense for us to do this, or it might make sense for us not to have a 3 hour block there, and I do a 2 hour block there. And actually, there's times where, um, you know, I'm walking the dog. I could be doing a couple of little, like this is for me personally. I'm not walking the dog, and I will do a couple of bits of work on my phone. And by all means, like I'm not telling you to work all of the hours of the day, but this is just a way to get those extra little 15-minute blocks in. So that is your threes, twos, ones. It's basically the what did I call that framework? Completely forget now. The yeah. I've got that on a PDF if you want it as well, which will break it all down for you. Drop a comment and I'll sort it out for you. Anything else for lifestyle design? We've covered that. Yeah, that's called the full-time entrepreneurs. It's basically that's done. Okay. 2 hours and 12 minutes for the first three pillars of the limitless lifestyle. So on the next video that I do, which you'll see, I'm going to be covering your nutrition, your training, and recovery. And yeah, I don't expect this to go on for another 2 hours. But yeah, this has given me a good idea of how these sessions are going to go next month, because I'm going to be doing this whole session again with up to like 100 people online. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good to kind of talk in front of the camera again. It's been good to kind of share some knowledge, share some of my frameworks. If anybody's watching this, I'd appreciate some feedback. If you've got any questions, comments, suggestions on anything that I've talked about, if you can like, subscribe, do all of that stuff. I'm also over on Instagram, Jason Gutsell. And yeah, appreciate you for watching, and I will see you soon.